Speaking as a German activist who has tried to fight against what happens right now to Greece, to Spain, to France, actually what I see is a couple of things, and maybe I start with one sentence. We live on a limited planet called Earth, and you can't have an unlimited growth on a limited planet, which makes certain things quite logic. The second thing is that Germany is often taken as an example of economic growth and sort of a solution to the problem, which is called crisis. I think the so-called crisis is nothing but a giant master plan, screenplay, script of total expropriation of public property and new enslavement of the peoples throughout Europe and the whole planet. In Germany it started, actually it started much earlier with more and more indebtment, and then came 2000 and the era of the Regierung Schröder, and they did a tax reform and the so-called Agenda 2010, implementing the Lisbon Treaty and the GATS, the General Agreement on Trade in Services, which meant less taxes to the state budget. Yeah, it continued to lift the protections against unlawful dismissals, leading to massive layoffs and the transformation of regular jobs into temporary employment at much lower wages. This in turn created a downward spiral of wages in general, and accordingly less state and municipal tax incomes again. So in fact, the creation of such precarious jobs was bereaving the state and the communities of tax income. Plus, the creation of such precarious jobs was even massively subsidized as the Arbeitsagentur paid companies a big share of the wages and social welfare contributions. This initiated the final bleed out of local communities and state budgets, who were dependent on these taxes, of course. And this installed step 2. And step 2 was selling public property, selling lakes, selling official buildings, and even selling riversides and places where people could gather. Selling schools, selling clinics, and renting them back. This is what is called public-private partnerships, PPP. And it was said to be cheaper, and it was said that communities would save money by selling these public property and renting them back. In fact, the opposite was the case. It got more and more expensive, so all the communities were more indebted than before. Created a spiral of a total sale-out, of total what I call expropriation of the peoples. Because now, and only now, this so-called crisis could really begin. Because now all the states, or in this case Germany, all the communities were in the position that they had nothing more to deal with. And they had to get loans and more loans and more loans. And all this spiral and all these austerity measures didn't lead to more jobs, but they led just to a transformation of regular jobs into temporary employment, to really precarious sorts of employment, to lots of so-called self-employment, which didn't work, of course, because we are forced to compete in ways we have never seen before, and actually which enslaves us to markets we can't control. I can only say that these measures imposed now or proposed to solve the crisis actually created the crisis, and they will continue to foster this crisis. And it's not a solution, the problem actually. Selling public property, privatizing social services is never ever a solution. They say that Germany is an example, but in fact we have 7.5 billion less tax income per year due to the tax reform we had already. That we had a lowering of top income tax rate from 53 to 32%, a lowering of corporate income tax from 22 to 19%, which led all to the things I said before. The privatization has also led to massive frauds, for instance in clinics. Look at, if you're German, look at Monitor of the 16th of June 2011, which says a lot. It's about, for instance, 1.5 billion per year only by clinics, privatized clinics. Privatization is not a means, selling public property is not a means, lowering wages is not a means, lifting any social standards is not a means of getting out of this misery. So get out on the streets, fight this system, inform yourself, don't believe the mass media. But now I'm gonna say it in German. Kommt am 19. am kommenden Sonntag zum Kanzleramt, gegen den scheiß Europakt zu demonstrieren.